Hey, this is Seth with In Demand Career. I show people how to get life-changing jobs in digital marketing with no previous experience or education. And that includes my very special guest today, Lillian, who was struggling and stressed out as a real estate agent when she found my course. She studied very hard, followed the instructions, and within just a few months got her first entry-level PPC job, making $50,000 a year working remotely. She loves her job, and I think her story is very inspiring. I'm very excited to share it with you. Thanks for being here, Lillian.
Thanks for having me, Seth.
My pleasure. So why don't you tell people a little bit about your current job and what you're doing right now?
So as of now, I'm a PPC specialist at Blue Corona, which is one of the agencies that is recommended by you. And when I looked into it, I was really interested in what they had to offer. So, when I applied, I was pretty excited to get the job. So yeah, as of now, I'm a PPC specialist.
That's so great. And what's it like working remotely? Do you enjoy the job? You came in with no experience. So was it easy to get acclimated?
Yeah, so I definitely enjoy the job. PPC is something I dove into this year, obviously, with the help of your course. It's really great because one of my favorite factors, obviously, is the fact that it is remote. And that was one of the main reasons why I really enjoyed digital marketing. I love my position. I love the company so far is really great because the training is really, really on par. The whole first month has been dedicated to training. So you're basically getting paid to learn, which is great. But also understanding their own specific systems and softwares that they use. Everything has been great so far.
That's fantastic. We'll get more into the job and again, how you got it in a minute. But let's go back. People always want to know. So what was going on in your life when you found the course? What were you doing?
Yeah, so I was a realtor. Technically, I still am. I still have my license. But I was at a point where I was kind of tired of the inconsistent income because as a realtor, most people know that you do get paid just off of commissions. And sometimes there could be good months and sometimes there could be bad months. And I just got to a point in my life where I realized that I needed, a form of consistent income. And that's what's going to help me essentially build the real estate portfolio that I'm looking to build.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's it like? We talk about, I actually had another realtor on the channel. I think you found the course because of that interview, I believe, with the other realtor. But what's it like living like that when you don't know if you're going to have a paycheck? What is the actual day-to-day stress like?
So it's I'm kind of used to it. So it wasn't a big change for me once I got into it. Most of my life I've had commission jobs. But because I've basically lived off commissions for quite some time, I got to a point where I was just you know what? I just wanted something steady. So it is it's actually very stressful at times. But you kind of have to learn to have that level of tolerance if you are in that field, because you definitely can make it, but it just takes time, and it does take that pain tolerance, if that's what you want to call it, to build up to have that consistent income, because there is a way to get consistent with it, but it takes a lot more time than most people expect. And after getting married and everything like that, I definitely just realized that it's time to get something consistent.
Yeah. No, totally, guys. If you've never worked a sales job, or it's similar when you're starting your own business. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems I had. I've been running my own business now for about 6 years, but it took me 3 attempts. I tried quitting my job and just freelancing. I tried quitting my job and running my, doing my film school business. And each time it was all a mindset issue, because I was taking the right actions. But I mean, there is something we're really indoctrinated, especially in school and probably in your family, where it was almost like people will be happier with a smaller paycheck as long as it's consistent, rather than feel the pain of the uncertainty of starting your own business or freelancing. And that's why I also do encourage my students to start out with a day job, which is totally cool to get your experience. Once you have that confidence, it's then a lot easier to pivot into freelancing. Unless you have that personality, some people do, where they go right into freelancing and they have no problem with the uncertainty of it or selling or things like that. It's definitely an interesting way to live. So, but now, now you obviously, it's great, you have a consistent income, but so how did it go from the time that you found out or started looking into digital marketing to getting your job?
Yeah, so I started your course in May of this year, and basically I was studying, I was working at it pretty much every day. I did take like a 2-week hiatus because I went on vacation in Nigeria to see my family. So there was a little bit of break, but I mean, before that 2-week break and after that 2-week break, I mean, I was pretty much going at the course every day for several hours a day because I knew I wanted to get, into the industry as fast as possible, which is why I'm really thankful I was able to do it in 3 months. But it's, after hearing all the interviews that, I've heard you do on your channel, I heard ranges from 3 months, 6 months to 2 years, with people taking breaks. But once I heard like, even though you do say to give it time, which is fair, I just knew I wanted to go at it as hard and as fast as I could. But I was going to give myself that time regardless. But yeah, I went at it pretty hard, and I just did exactly what you said. I went through the course the first time. And then the second time is when the second time I went through the course is when I started to apply everything, create the websites and everything like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, you were one of those students I was telling you. I don't think you knew this. I knew immediately when you were messaging me that you were going to get hired very quickly because you had that. Maybe it was from working commission jobs and having that skill set of communication, but you just had a very positive and driven, attitude, which is a big component. Obviously you have to have the hard skills, but that attitude, which is why I try to be inspirational for people and try to get people into a state of possibility because everybody can do this. It's just a matter of how fast are you willing to allow it to happen? And you were like, I think it was after like a month. I was like, yeah, she's going to get a job within a month or two, really quick. I was like, I have my eye on you. So then what was it like once you started interviewing and sending out applications and interviewing?
Yes. So the first time I went on an interview, actually it was because that company reached out to me on LinkedIn. And I think I had mentioned it in the group, but this was an app. It was like a mobile app company. So they basically did ads for their apps, their applications. And that is very different from, maybe not too different, but it's pretty different from what like you teach in the course as far as like Google search ads. And it's not really geared towards like mobile apps. So the only reason why I actually applied to this company is because they reached out to me. And they saw my experience on LinkedIn, which wasn't much, it was just whatever that was basically, that you were teaching us in the course. So I was surprised they even reached out to me. So that was the first job first company that I interviewed at. And I made it all the way to the 4th round. But I didn't get that. But I actually wasn't too sad. I wasn't sad that I didn't get it because I honestly just did it for experience because that job was actually a hybrid version. Meaning that it was like 3 days in the office, 2 days at home. And I did it. I knew I wanted a totally remote job, but I just decided to do it for the experience. So fast forward, I applied to probably like 7 or 8 like other jobs. And because I was doing what you said, I wasn't like bulk applying. Like I customized my resume and I customized my cover letter. And I got every job that I applied to, like I got contacted back. I think I might have got maybe 2 or 3, maybe like 2 rejection letters, or not even rejection letter. It was like they didn't even like get to the first interview. So they had already chose a candidate. But every job that I interviewed, every company that I interviewed with, I made it to at least a 2nd or 3rd round. And the job, obviously the company that I made it, to the 3rd round, it was this company and the Moran Group actually. So Blue Corona, the company that I work for now, and the Moran Group. And I chose Blue Corona just because they just went, I just felt like their training was going to be above and beyond, and it is. So that's why, I pretty much went with them. But yeah, that was the interview process. It was nerve-wracking at first, but I literally studied all the common questions that you have in the course, like the common questions that you tell us to study. Went through that like over and over and over again before my interviews, and I was good.
That's awesome. And you, I mean, I'm glad you did that, guys. It's so many of the success stories are literally people like I'll get emails from people and they'll be like, what kind of questions can I expect in an interview? And I'm like, I literally have a whole section of the course devoted to showing you exactly how to interview and exactly what questions you will likely be asked in the interview. So you just aren't paying attention. But yeah, you had the right attitude, and it's amazing to get that many responses. And in the actual interview, like what kind of questions were they asking? And did you do that assessment that I have in the course?
Yeah, so the assessment is still the same exact assessment that you have in the course, which was really helpful because Xavier, one of the other students or one of your coaches did, like, he basically gave a review of what he would put in their assessment, which was really helpful. So basically, I did the assessment. As soon as I applied, they emailed me back that same assessment. So then I had to send that in, and then they set me up with a second interview. So I also, obviously, the first interview was like 30 minutes. And then they set me up with the second interview after reviewing my assessment. And that interview was actually a little intimidating because they were like, yeah, block out like 2 hours. And I was like, what are we going to talk about for 2 hours? I was thinking I was going to talk to one or maybe two people. So that second interview was set up with 4 people. It was like, I think one HR manager, 2 account managers, and then my PPC manager that I was going to work with. But they were all really cool. I got to the PPC manager at the third part of that same interview. And that's when he asked me specific questions about PPC. In particular, he would ask me about like different, like just basically different metrics and everything like that. And he did also do a separate assessment, which he was asking me questions on like a particular case study. And I had to like make calculations. What is the cost per click for this? What is the cost per conversion of this? And I didn't expect that. But I was able to get through it pretty easily. I mean, they were pretty simple questions. They weren't anything too crazy. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, that second interview, they had, sorry, I was getting a call. That second interview, they had asked me a few questions about like my personality just to see if it was a culture fit. But once I got to the PPC manager, that's when he asked me PPC related questions. So that's
Wow.
how it went. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I know there's, every company has different number of rounds. The assessment, and guys, that's what we have in the course. And you see a bunch of that in the course. Like we have when students, because it's such an active community, when students get an assessment, sometimes I'll ask for help and I'll have the coaches. There's a bunch of examples in the course of like assessment tests that companies have put out there just to give you an idea of the kinds of questions you'll be asked when you go into the job interview. And so obviously, I think it's really funny. I didn't even realize that I had that in the course. I thought it was an SEO assessment, but it was actually PPC. So
it's a combination of like both. I didn't realize that most of it actually was SEO now when I look back on it, but there was a couple of PPC questions as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see that they were still using that and then you got into the second interview. And then a lot of it, guys, that's why I really do encourage you to, whether you're in the course or not, is to do mock interviews with your friends. Just get comfortable answering questions about yourself, but also the poise that comes with, like what you're just describing. I know that's what's intimidating to a lot of people about these interviews is 4 people are scrutinizing you. And you're used to that in a way. We'll get to that in a second because I know you have a lot of experience being kind of in a public sphere. But it's a mixture of your soft skills and your cultural fit, and of course the ability. Like you said, the skills they're asking in the assessment are not going to be like super intense, like really detailed, terribly difficult questions. It's more like you said, like doing basic calculations, because a lot of these agencies, again, they're looking for your ability to speak the language, cultural fit, and then they're going to usually offer you a lot of training.
And I want to just add on to that really quick. So the last interview that I ended up having with that company was with the president, who he was just making sure, like when I got on the phone with him, he was just like, my team has already decided that we want to hire you. I'm just like the last level to see if you're a culture fit, like you said. So that was really cool too, because, again, it wasn't so focused on the skills or the hard skills, like you say. It's really like based on what you're willing to do, like if you're coachable and if you're a good fit for their culture.
Yeah, that coachability thing, it's just, guys, you just have to show. It's like, again, it's a balance. You have to show your knowledge. And it sounds to me also like you really ingested the course and you start to live and breathe digital marketing. And then it's natural. That's the other thing I try to encourage people to understand with these interviews is that part of it for some of these questions, like, tell me about yourself. I'm like, I say in the course, you should have a little script so that you don't get lost. And either, like I used to do this too before I really learned the right way to do it. It's like either people will clam up because they don't know what to say. And that's no good. Or you started to talk about your ninth grade, hamster or something, you talk about too much. But if you have a little bit of a script guiding you, then you have a couple of quick sentences and that's cool. But then when they're asking you questions, the reason I teach you to nerd out is like, if you study the stuff, like you can't rush it. Once you really get into it and you run some campaigns and you understand what click-through rate is and you see the things moving, it becomes part of you. And then when someone asks you a question, it's very natural. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to feel like you have to perform so much. It just comes out of your mouth very naturally.
And they're
So
so like, sorry, I was just gonna say, like, their training is literally for people who have zero experience. So you're so right when you say like you have to understand the material, but you're still gonna get trained once you do get into, that position.
yeah, that's usually the case. And there's some jobs, like I said, where they want you to, they're going to hand you a lot of responsibility right away. But 90% of these interviews, again, that's what they're looking for, is that. And that's why I think if you can bring that enthusiasm, they're looking for that. And that the fact that you talk about a situation where you took it upon yourself to learn something. In fact, even, people are even impressed that you've taken an online course sometimes because it shows initiative. So once once you were hired, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but like, what's it like working remotely and working with this team?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I love working remote. As soon as I got the position, they sent me out like my laptop, my monitor, pretty much everything that you need for the job. It's really nice because even though we are remote, we still do have like they make it still feel like we're kind of in the office in a sense. Because we have a lot of like team meetings, we do things to bring up like the company morale. So I mean, it's really cool. I love not having to get up and drive anywhere. You're saving time on the commute, if I had a commute. So honestly, like, it's just really nice to be able to wake up, do my little yoga, and then I'm like right into my chair for work.
That's so great. And what's it like to have the consistent income now?
It's nice. It's nice because now I know exactly how much I can allocate to the real estate, because the whole reason I got into real estate was to get into investing. So like now I know exactly how much I can save towards a certain investment or whatever I want to do. So like that's really nice. And a part of that is being able to grow within the company and know that my income will also grow and be able to put towards other things as well. So like it's just nice to be able to know what's coming in, when it's coming in, and where I can allocate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, this is, guys, I tell you, this is entry level. It's the first job. It's not your last job. You're going to be, leveling up to 60K, 70K or more within a year or two. I'm confident of that. So you're just at the very beginning. But, Lillian's a great example of what's possible coming in with no experience, really, really embracing and taking on what I teach in the course and then taking action with a positive attitude. And as I wanted to get this into the interview because I think it's so interesting. I was talking about your poise and you being used to being a little bit under a little bit of public scrutiny, because what were you doing before you were doing real estate?
So I was playing basketball professionally in Spain.
Yeah. I mean, we could have done a whole other interview about this, but I definitely wanted to stay focused on digital marketing. But like, I was just curious, and I'm sure the viewers are curious, like, you played in college, and then what was it like playing professionally overseas?
Yeah, so after college, I went overseas to Spain, and it was amazing because it was like I achieved the moment that was like a dream for me, like being able to just play basketball professionally and get paid to do it. And I was in like one of the most beautiful countries. Like Spain is so beautiful. So I mean, everything wasn't perfect, but I would say I have no regrets about it, and I really have no complaints. I mean, it was a great experience. And it's not every day somebody gets to go over and play basketball professionally, so I enjoyed it. We won a championship out there, so I'm kind of proud of myself in that sense as well. But yeah, after some time, it was kind of like time to get into real life after I got that championship.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so, but ultimately you're saying this wasn't a sustainable career, that it didn't have it wasn't paying enough to.
No way.
No.
No way.
Yeah. So, but I think to have had that experience is pretty incredible. And I'm sure, that's also, I said, when you're running your own company or freelancing, I'm sure that's an aspect of your personality that definitely is a good Unique story. I think I looked you up, or did you send me a link to your stats or something? You have
To,
like there's a page with all your statistics.
for my YouTube channel, or
I don't know where I found it, but
oh, you mean for my basketball stats?
yeah, I think I might have Googled you.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. I mean,
GB Athletics, 2014, 2015.
that was college.
Okay. Yeah, it's got you on the roster here. You were a guard. Cherry
Yeah.
Hill. Ah, my in-laws live there. So
All right.
so that's so cool. Well, I mean, I'm happy to have helped you transition from what was a cool temporary, like, dream to play basketball, then getting into real estate, and now having, just starting your digital marketing career. So I know you're going to go very far, and this is just the beginning, and I'm very proud of you and very happy for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Seth.
It's my pleasure. So, let me see. We're going to wrap this up. So, first of all, can people reach out to you on LinkedIn if they have any questions for you?
Yes, they definitely can. People have already reached out to me after I posted in the group, obviously, but I was one of those people, like anytime you would ask somebody in an interview, like, can they reach out? I was like one of those people literally going to reach out to all these people on LinkedIn, just trying to understand the process a little bit more. So yeah, you can definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. There's no secret sauce. I'm literally going to tell you exactly what Seth tells you, which is go through the course, go through it once, go through it twice, and then start applying. So there's no secret sauce. But if you do want to reach out to me, I am free to talk.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. And I love that in this community, people are so generous with their time. And a lot of times people just want to get some, some reassurance, but yeah, there is no secret, like you said. I mean, other than what's in the course itself. So do you have any, anything before we sign off, anything you want to say to me or anybody who's thinking about taking the course?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, thank you, of course, for creating the course. As soon as I got into the course, I emailed you, right? I was like, Seth, I'm gonna be one of the people that you interview because I'm definitely gonna get a job. And here I am. So it's not impossible. It's very doable. Give yourself time. It may not take 3 months if you are, if you're looking to get the course and you're looking to get a job. Give yourself time. If it takes 3 months, if it takes 6 months, if it takes 9 months, whatever it takes, you can definitely get it if you follow the steps that are in Seth's course. There's really no reason to hesitate. I mean, all the testimonials on your page speak for itself. Like, that was the thing I literally watched all the testimonials. Like every morning I'd watch a new testimonial. Right. So even now, after I have a job, I'm still watching people's testimonials because it's so cool to see how people can go from a job that they hate or a job that's just not, putting them in a good position to a job that they love, working remotely, so there's a lot of benefits to being able to get in this industry. And I really want to thank Seth again and also let you know that if you are hesitating, like, don't just jump into it now, because you will seriously you could be another person on Seth's interviews just talking about how it has helped your life. And it's just possible. I don't want to keep rambling, but it's very possible to do it.
Awesome, Lillian. Thanks so much. Very well said. I think she said it all. Thanks for being who you are and sharing your story here. And we'll stay in touch. We'll definitely do a follow-up one of these. I'm very excited to see where you go in your career. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Seth. I appreciate it.